Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to Tennis Manager 2022. We're going to take our first look at the new release here from Rebound. I'm excited for this one because I've played both of the previous couple versions of this game, beginning with Tennis Manager 2019, which was a mobile game. They then fleshed that out into a full-blown PC title with a lot more going on with Tennis Manager 2021. On the channel, I had a long running series that just wrapped up a couple weeks ago since its release. So, throughout the past year, we will be doing the same here with Tennis Manager 2022, starting maybe later today or as soon as tomorrow. We'll see how quickly I can get the content rolled out for that one. Let's go ahead and get into what are the new features. So, those of you returning and have seen Tennis Manager before, here's the new features added in since last year. So on the list of main new features, there is Tennis Man or Tennis Woman creation. So you now have the ability to actually create a tennis player, and I'm excited for that one. Team supervision screen. So there's now a management of your athletes in a way that wasn't there previously. So the sponsor system where you get equipment, you have your rackets, you have your apparel, your shoes, that equipment that you utilize, there's a new contract system surrounding that one. This is a feature that I'm excited for, and it's round robin tournament format. Now, I don't think that's in all tournaments, but there are going to be tournaments that have this round robin format, meaning, for those not familiar with round robin, is you have a group. So let's say you take 4 athletes and put them in the same grouping. You're going to play the other 3 athletes in your group, as will each of the others, and then you're going to have a table based on that, and with winners moving on or winning their group at least. Circuits stats records, so improved record base. Game plans, you can import and export, so what works best, available on the Steam Workshop. Match history of each player and player records. There's a new infrastructure system. Now, the infrastructure system from last year largely returns, but it's evolved. There's a lot more going on to it. There's a lot more stages to what happens there, and I'm pretty excited for a few of those. We'll get a look at that here. A new negotiation system when recruiting a player or staff member. There's a new way to establish the objectives with your player, and I'm really happy for that one because the objectives were automatic. They weren't always realistic. You could be 10th place and they want to suddenly jump to 5th, and climbing those 5 spots can be a serious challenge. And then you lose the athlete when you climb to 6th and not to 5th. And they automatically just depart at the end of the year, even though you have a multi-year contract, which got really frustrating at times. So I'm excited for a new method to establish the objectives. You could also auto-assign your staff now, making that more simplistic for quick gameplay. If you still want to micromanage that, though, you can always get the best out of your staff. There's tons of upgrades for the match simulation. The physics, the animations, behaviors, impact of the player's tactical choices on the court, and then 3D rendering upgrades, and possibly more. Now, from what I've seen from the gameplay trailer, I'm fully in belief that there is some serious upgrades to the match engine this year. Coming from somebody who's played other sports management titles that see the same match engine year after year after year after year, or just very minor upgrades or changes year after year, wholesale changes in just year 2 of the PC title is pretty welcome. All right, let's jump into the game with a new career here for the first look. Now, for my series, we're going to be starting from the bottom with a create your own tennis academy. But here, we'll start with one of the better ones just so we can get a quick look into the game. All right, so we are in the manager creation screen, and you have your experience level that you can select. So you can be a full-on legend, and it impacts the number of points that you're going to have available. So starting out, right, as a novice, you're going to have far fewer points to distribute. Custom, you can assign the points yourself, or you could take a preset style, like a technician that's going to focus more on the training side. or a strategist who's going to have good mental and tactics, communicator with high ability to motivate, or someone who's versatile, evenly distributed attributes kind of across the board, does everything fairly well, but nothing super strong, or somebody that is strict, that is high on movement and physical abilities, mental and tactics. For choosing your career, you could choose between managing an existing academy or create your own academy and player. Now, you do have the option to start with an existing player or create your own, but I love this idea of creating your own player, and I look forward to getting into that with the beginning of my series. Be sure to check that one out if you want to see that player creation. For now, let's jump in with an existing academy. Overall, the UI looks very similar to last year's edition, but it's definitely been cleaned up a bit, and I'm a fan of the progress they've made here with the UI. So we're going to start by looking at the infrastructure screen, because I think this is one of the more important ones, especially when you start from the bottom and try to work your way up. The infrastructure is key to that development. So our sports center here with the Florida Tennis Academy, which is the strongest one in the game. So this is the top academy. The sports center is at 3.5. It's pretty solid already. You can see that it nearly makes enough money to cover the expenses that it has. Our training is a 13 of a possible 17. The staff spaces are nearly capitalized. The team spaces are. And the surface control bonus is pretty good. But looks like there is room for improvement almost across the board there. Top 3 academies being compared. You can see how the French Riviera Tennis Academy has the same sports center level, so the infrastructure level is about the same. And the Tierra Victoria Tennis Academy ranks also in the top 3. Now, this is just the sports center. This is one of our 4 centers. And unlike before, where this was a simple one-click upgrade and it had 9 levels, starting at 0, so technically you had 10 levels. But you had these 4 infrastructure areas, and each one just had that generic upgrade. Now, you can see it breaks down into a lot further detail. So here we have clay courts, hard courts, grass courts, and indoor courts. Also paddle courts. Different areas to work, develop, and you can see it unlocks a clay court bonus. So how you perform on one court type isn't just about practice and preparation, but now the actual sports center will apply a bonus in and of itself to you. So you can really focus in one type of court, one type of area, and really hammer that one out early on, and develop the others later on, diversify later on. You could certainly specialize in one area, and that's nice. The paddle courts look like they're just there to earn income, but you could actually see that this paddle court at level 1 is already generating nearly half of the income of the sports center by itself. And there's a whole lot more besides just the courts. The weight room, a multi-purpose field, a swimming pool, track. I would assume this is all for training. Video and tactical room. Yes, these should all be training. And the sports seats, you can see, provide the staff, the number of players that you can have. So this has to do with the quantity of staff and players within the academy that you can support. Not as many options for the medical center, but certainly not bad. Muscle care, cold therapy, physical therapy, psychology, yoga and meditation, and so the balneotherapy room provides a reduction in injury duration, also provides an income much more than the expense that is involved in it. You can see that this not quite complete here, medical center, which is the best one for the top 3 academies. So this here in the bottom left, the top 3 academies is element by element of your infrastructure, and then it's an average of what you have here. You can see we have 5 out of 6 things for treatment, The injury duration reduction bonus is quite to the extreme. It's almost maximized. Youth and Scouting Center, 5 options here: supervision, management structure, relaxation room and video games, the campus, and a sports study programs, which also provides a monthly income on that one. And it looks like this is profitable the way that's set up, so that's good. Finally, we have the business center. Again, limited options compared to the sports center. The sports center definitely has the most. From one click across the board a year ago, this is wonderful because there are so many additional details that just weren't there before. So many options, and I'm a fan of that. But from the looks of things, we're talking about some pretty intense costs. It still looks like it's going to be pretty hefty investments to make things happen. This business center is by far the best out of the French Riviera and then Tierra Victoria. It's pretty clear that the French Riviera is the number 2 academy on the list, with Florida Tennis Academy on top of most of the infrastructure categories, and you can see why they're a bit more of a dominant force. But this business center provides quite the revenue for this academy. The business center adds a press conference room, stores, restaurant, heliport, and a recreational pool. And I'm sure all, if not most, of this list is income based. And if you're starting from nothing, might not be a bad way to start, because you need money to develop all of this stuff. And so generating an income is going to be pretty pivotal to the start of your career. First look at the player card. There's definitely a lot more information than there was a year ago in this one, though a lot of the information is still the same. But the organization has definitely taken a big step up. First off, we have a star rating now, both on current and potential, plus their type of progress, whether they develop early, whether standard or they develop late. I love that we do have the spiderweb graphic that really shows where their strengths are, and it makes the weaknesses stand out a little bit more, like this player is a little on the weak side mentally. They've definitely added at least a couple attributes here into the list for mental. I know that it is the same, but I think it was just 6 things a year ago. I like the summary organization here of a few key things. You have morale, which for this player is fair. Their shape, which is weak. Shape corresponds to the player's level of pace, depending on the level. Shape can impact physical attributes as well as the energy gauge at the start of a match. And then you have physical condition, which represents a player's physical state. The weaker the player is, the less effective the trainings are, and the more likely the player will get injured. So less effective that the trainings are. So you need to keep their physical condition high. Good to know. And that takes us to one of the new screens that exist here. And to me, this supervision reminds me more of just being a summary page. So you have each of your players on your roster, their professional rank, their junior rank. Here's that morale and their shape and their physical condition, their win percentage, how well developed their 3 styles of game plans. You get to keep 3 game plans and train those and then switch as you want. What they're doing this week, so for the schedule, what their next tournament is. Not sure, but I would assume that this is the month, your win percentage for this month, and then when your contract ends and what their satisfaction is towards their objectives. Training screen has the same level of detail that it had a year ago, so they've kept this one unchanged. Other than import-export files for game plans, this is the same ultimately, but you could choose different game plans, and there's a lot more going on. And I think this year, after reacquainting myself with tennis a year ago, I'm going to be more adventurous in actually choosing game plans and having some tactical say in what's going to happen. So we're into the contract screen, and I can definitely see that they've done a lot with this. So looking in the rackets equipment supplier first, you can see, for one thing, we have real ones now, and not just false sponsors, but Wilson actually coming in as a sponsor here. So the bonuses, there's more going on than there was previously. It's not just a single bonus. There are still some negatives, but there is 4 positive points, 2 negative points for the style. I'm sure you could change that up. Yes, you can go to power. It seems like there's actually even further options. Yeah, there's 4 this time. So I like that they're giving you different choices based on the sponsorship contract that you have obtained. Of course, you can change your outfit as well. You can see our 3D models have evolved quite a bit from what they were last year. And it would appear that you're getting payments, not just on a yearly basis at the end of the contract. Do you get paid or don't you? But it looks like things happen as you go along. So if you earn a title, that $53,453 that this player has signed up for their contract wise, it looks like it would be paid as soon as they've accomplished that. The goal is 1, so I don't know if they're going to get it for every title. They continue to get that bonus payment, or if it's a one-time only sort of payment. I'll have to play the game a bit to find out. But getting to the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam is going to earn a similar payment. Tournament participation, so compete in 20 tournaments to get a $40,000 bonus. So there's additional ways to earn cash. The monthly amount, I think, might be probably less than what it was, but also it's a monthly amount where previously things were a little weird about all that. And I'm sure we're only getting a portion of this. There's the outfits contract with a similar type concept. Here's the interesting thing. They're not all coming together like they did last year. You get offers for all of them at once. Does not seem to be the case here. Also, we have a marketing value of 2.5 stars. And finally, we have our Academy contract, which is showing 2 seasons, key player. There's that revenue share, so we're getting 14%. And then we do have the option to extend. Here's at least our first glance at the contract negotiations page. We have their level, their potential. I love that is visible on this screen. The Academy slots are here. We can compare them with other players. Contract duration, what they're being paid. And the contract negotiation would actually take place in here, but I suppose we'll have to tune in later to find that one, as it is too soon to enter into negotiations with this player. Looks like they've done quite a bit of work on the objectives. They were very generic before, but there's a lot going on here with the objectives. Do not drop below 50% satisfaction with your sports goals. Applies to each player. So that, I believe what they're talking about here is we need to maintain throughout the team a 50% or better completion of objectives ratio. Financial balance of at least 4.8 million. We have 6 million right now. Recruit at least 1 top 20 player in either the men's or women's tour. Have at least 50% of players with a level of 3.5 stars or higher. Right now that's only at 16%. That's a difficult one to achieve, but it's a minor objective. There's the 2 main ones. It's secondary. And have at least 50% women on the team. So this is super interesting for me. Here we get to discuss the goals for the year and not just jump in and here's what you get and there's no negotiation. I love that this is a text-based format here. It's important we set your goals for the season together. What ranking do you think I should aim for? So we're going to propose this, and he agrees with that, but we're going to keep an eye on the morale. It's going to be impacted. It's quarterfinal, and here is our Grand Slam history. I love that that's showing up. 2021, right? We're about to start the 2022 season. We got to round of 16, but not much further, huh? It's still pretty young, only 21-year-old. I think it's a great feature that you can delegate this to staff, or you can do each negotiation yourself. That delegation piece is a wonderful option because there's going to be times where you don't care. You don't care enough to make that decision to get in there and decide for yourself. There's going to be times though where you really want to break it down and you want to get it just right. So I'm very thrilled that you do have the option to do either, and you can do that player by player and not just blanket delegate for all others. You can choose one by one who you want to discuss the objectives with. Now, I'm not here to try to point out that there's a bug or two. This is just text-based. It's super easy stuff to fix, and it'll be resolved, I'm sure, soon after the game is released. But what I am here to point out is that we are a week into the game, if that, 5 days maybe, and there's already been a minor injury. It's only 2 days that the player is out for, but there's already been a minor injury showing up, and I do believe that that's going to be a much bigger feature just based on what I've seen here this year around. And as much as that isn't a good thing, it is. We don't want to see people hurt, but I want the realism side of that. I think in the old version of the game, I probably wait years before we ever even had our first injury. It did pick up on the later end of the cycle, the development cycle, but it was pretty late on before that picked up. So I'm actually excited that they've, right off the bat, we've already been introduced with a minor injury not even a week in. Let's hope that it's not overdone and there's too many injuries, but I am excited that it's something you're going to have to deal with, and that's a realistic part of the game. I like this. We now have offers that come through. Ivagovic has 4 offers, so this is a great opportunity to get in here and see what kind of things we have. So Yannick versus Wilson, and we have 2 seasons. Sign on the dotted line is different, still valid for another 33 days, but there's nothing additional in those choices. So it just looks like you get paid a little bit more if you sign with Wilson, so that makes sense. Here it's going to get into the details though. So you need to get to 50th, top 50 in the junior rankings and participate in 20 tournaments. Same circumstances here, except that that ranking came with a bigger bonus. So there is a ever so slight difference in what's going on between these 2 contracts, and I like that there are different options. We'll sign with Wilson. So we have a UI upgrade here for the tournament screen. Information's the same though. All right, so we are now into our first match, and you can see that there is a pretty serious upgrade to the graphics. Sound as well. A lot cleaner ball sound than there was a year ago, but the 3D models are looking a lot better. The ball movement, we're hearing from the players a little bit. We have a match time. It's interesting. Top panel all looks pretty much the same. Yeah, mostly just a little UI upgrade. But then you have that vocal upgrade, and I think more importantly, as we apparently are really bad on the return, you're seeing a lot more kind of a natural movement out of the player as well, other than that slide without stepping. Need a little work on the legs, but otherwise it's looking so much cleaner than last year. They've really put some time and effort into this, and you can see
15-0.
See right there the way we got the ace on that one. But the body reach for the ball, the racket movement, really like the animations. I mean, it's a massive step forward, and you're seeing the hitting the top of the net. We're going to take a look at the different views that we have before we wrap things up here, but this is the top-down view. You can definitely, I like that you're getting the ball marker from each bounce. You can really see what's going on with that, but from the top view, it's hard to see much. It's more of a tactical kind of overview to see how things are going than anything else. Three-quarter view, one that I used often last season, is back, and again, looking even better. Oh, hello.
30-0.
New character view, CV, court view. Nice. See that top spin? That's really cool.
40-30.
That's nice. Yeah, here the footwork's looking a lot better.
2 games to 1.
Not sure if it was the view, but we're
15
really
love.
seeing those. The footwork looking a lot nicer. I don't mind that the feet kind of dip into the ground a little bit at times. In general, I mean, it's got a nice clean look to it. Match statistics. All the same kind of information that was available to us last year. 3D analysis. I think there is a little bit more than there was. You have the ball hits a couple times into the net. Heat map. Love having a heat map. Really track your position. Yeah. Playing area. Defensive. Each time you're playing the ball. Just zoom out. Defensive, neutral, aggressive, and finishing. Hit points. Forehand, backhand. That's nice. Yeah, adding in where you're hitting forehand, backhand from. Serve areas. Wide, mid, and tight. Return areas. Short, mid, or deep. So they've definitely added a couple more screens to the 3D analysis. I'm impressed with the progress they've made, especially just visually. The animations are much improved from last year. So I would think tactically I would probably want to make a change here, as they seem to be much more aggressive. For a small development team, to my understanding, there are 10 people in the office total that handle everything for this game. That's a really small team, but they've been working on it throughout the year. For Tennis Manager 2022, there are numerous titles out there in the sports management genre that have larger teams than this and come out with less new content. This is a massive step forward for Tennis Manager. It just their third edition, their second edition on PC, just 1 year on from that release, and they've absolutely taken this a large step forward. I'm really excited by the changes. Now, a lot of the core gameplay is going to be the same. There's no wholesale changes there, but for one, we haven't seen the tennis creation, the player creation part yet. I'm going to introduce that one with my series, so be sure to check that one out if you want to see what's going on there. There's a lot of positives here, and I'm not seeing anything negative about this one, so I'm really looking forward to what is to come, not only this year but in future years. If they're able to make this big of a leap forward in year 2, I can't wait to see what they have in store for year number 3. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in for this first look at Tennis Manager 2022, and be sure to check out my 2022 playthrough that's going to be coming out at pretty much the same time as this first look video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more great content, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.